Hi everybody, here's a video to show you how to take through Design Space this new SVG that allows you to make this sweet little flared vase, although it can actually be made much larger than this if you want to, and the sunflowers and the leaves that go in it. There you can see the leaves are quite, I've tried to make it is my representation of a sunflower. I think it's one of the hardest flowers to recreate really. Um, but so this is just my take on it. You've got your solid wide centre which is made in black, and then that's just trimmed in a slightly darker shade of the orangey yellow that the petals are cut from, and then you've got 3 rows of petals that actually frame this centre. I made mine on skewers. Loads of directions in the PDF of instructions that you get for how to do that. Best way to get this bend in the skewers, because of course sunflowers heads do dip, they don't stick straight up, and that was a bit that slowed me down the most, because I did want to find a way of getting that bend in the flower so that you're looking at the face of the flower rather than just looking at it from side on when it sticks straight up in a vase. So I'm really quite pleased with how these have turned out. I've got a better picture of the vase somewhere. There we are. This vase is made out of small pieces. It's 12-sided. Pretty quick to make though, as the instructions will show. It includes this ribbon and the double piece bow that goes on top of it, and this little optional grid you can stick inside to help you when you're arranging flowers with stems. I didn't actually use it with my sunflowers because the heads are so big they need space to spread out, but this would work if you were, say, making a vase full of roses or daisies where you want to keep them a little bit more compact and not allow them to spread all over the place. Okay, I think that's all I need to tell you. We'll go to Design Space and bring it in and see what we need. So I'll bring the flower in first. As I say, you do get a PDF of really detailed instructions with dozens and dozens of photographs showing every single step. They're not the fastest flowers to make, but I really love the way they look. Each flower is made up of these kinds of petals, and you stick them on individually. It sounds really painstaking, but it's not. You can go very fast, especially if you use a hot glue gun. And the best thing about putting them on individually, I think, is you don't need to worry about the shape you're going to end up with, because you're going to end up with the shape that's been designed. You can't use the wrong tool, or it's not like making roses when you have to really have those skills to put a beautiful rose together. There's really no sort of extra skill involved in putting these flowers together. If you follow the instructions, you will end up with a sunflower that looks like mine. Okay, so the first thing we've got to do is convert the lines that come in as cuts which we want to be scores, because these sepal pieces, you get a large one and a small one and you use both of them. They do have scores because they fold up. If I can just go back to that picture of the flower backs. Yeah, I'm quite pleased with the way these look. They're about as close to a real sunflower as I can get, and I quite like the way they look. So you get a large one and a small one. The leaf, you'll need at least 2 of those and possibly more. Okay, so let's just sort the scores out. To select the scores, you click on the name of that first subgroup in your layers panel. It selects everything within it, which is all the lines that need converting. Go to your operations menu, click on basic scut and choose score from the drop down. And you can see that they've been converted now, but while they're still selected, because there's more than one set, we need to ungroup them. I'm using the desktop version for PC, so ungroup for me is at the top of the layers panel here. Next step, we need to select that group underneath that has all the cut pieces grouped together in it, and we need to ungroup it. And finally, select the whole SVG and do a third ungroup. So now everything on canvas is separate, and we can attach the scores just to the pieces that they relate to. Best way to do that, I think, click on canvas somewhere near a piece, drag a box to more or less enclose it, and hit attach, which for me is at the bottom of the layers panel there. Do this for each piece on screen that's got score lines, which is the small sepal, the big one, and this black piece which forms the flower centre. It folds in half, so it's got a score line there. Important though to remember is that even though that little yellow petal there doesn't have a score, it does have these little individual cuts in it, and if I open the group that makes up that petal, you can see it's the cut piece and then these two tiny, I'll just zoom in for a moment, these two tiny cuts that come in from the sides, and they allow you to curve the petal and to glue it in place to form the lovely curved shape. So we do need to attach that whole petal, the scores, pardon me, those little cuts and the cut shape together. Otherwise, when you send them to cut, they'll be separate. Okay, so let's talk about how many we need now. You don't really need to remember it too much from this video because your PDF tells you exactly what you need to cut. But this orange piece, if I just flick back to a close-up on the flowers, this is the lovely fringe inside the main petals. You need 3 of these, so we're just going to duplicate it so we've got 2 and 3, and then we'll move those over here out of the way. I did attach that, didn't I? Yes. The black one, which forms the gorgeous centre of the flower, supposed to be the seeds before they've ripened. You need 5 of those, so I'm doing Control D on my keyboard here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those. You need at least 2 leaves, I think, and you might want more. The oh, it's a bit laggy today, isn't it? The instructions discuss that, so just duplicate that one so you've got 2 leaves. The sepals, you get both of them anyway. And then when I made my sunflowers, I think that probably sometimes I wound the middle a bit tighter than others. So sometimes I needed 12 petals to go around the centre, and sometimes I needed 13. So when I'm making these now, I cut 39 petals every time, and then I'm sure that I've got enough. You definitely won't need more than 39. So I'm copying and pasting there to get 2, 3, and then I'm going to copy and paste that. So we've got 6, and then you can duplicate, you don't have to do copy and paste, however you want to do it. So now we've got 12 there, so I'll duplicate those now. Has it done it? No, did it do it? Oh, it's just taking forever, isn't it? It's probably going to do it again now. Yep. I wonder why this is running so slow. It's the only thing I've got open apart from photos. It's a bit weird. Anyway, so that was 3 12s. So I'll just pick, let's do it a different way. Move those. Wow, this is tedious. Move the blacks out of the way. Move all the yellow petals over here. And then we need just 3 more. 3 12s was 36, but we need 3 more. So I'm copying and pasting just those 3. Whoops, just those 3. Not cooperating today. Okay, so that's 1 sunflower. I know when you make yours, you'll just decide how many you're going to make, and you'll cut them all together. You won't cut each sunflower separately because you'll want to make the most of your paper. And just a note on that, because my vase only needed to look good from the front, I was just taking a picture of it for Etsy, I cut 5. If I was making this as a bouquet to give to somebody of sunflowers, then I'd probably cut at least 8 and possibly 9. But I'm just going to show you to cut 1 at the moment. So everything can be cut on A4. It's too long for letter, but it can be cut on A4. So if you're in Europe, you can make this whole project, all of it, the vase and everything, from A4. So let's just show that first. If you're using A4, you're going to need 2 sheets of black for 1 flower, but obviously on this mat you'd have another 2 sheets, wouldn't you? Maybe 1. This again can cut from A4, but again, if you were making more flowers, you wouldn't have that wasted space. The petals obviously will cut from anything you've got. Yeah, I'll just show you that actually, because you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, you get 35 petals on a page. So Design Space says, and then it puts 4 down here. But what I do when I make mine, And actually I'd set this up on the canvas so you don't have to do it every time, because they will absolutely fit on that sheet. Can you see that? And you would get the 4 that are on that individual mat on its own there, you would get them down there and they'd fit on an A4. So all your petals, all 39 of them, would cut from one sheet of A4. And then your leaves, obviously we're only cutting enough for one flower at the moment. They will fit on A4 with lots of room to spare. So again, you would go up here, choose your quantity, apply it, and then decide on the best layout for your paper. If you're in the US and you can't get A4, you can use 12 by 12, obviously. And again, you wouldn't have so much waste because, in fact, you just get 5 nicely on a 12 by 12, I think. Yeah, so one flower, the black inner, one 12 by 12, and everything else, you'd definitely get your petals on one. But of course, you would cut more than one flower at a time and you'd use up all that wasted space on your paper. Okay, so that's the sunflower. I'm not going to cut it. So we'll just delete that and we'll look at the vase now. Where is it? There it is. Right, so the vase SVG consists of the pieces to make the bow, the ribbon that wraps around the vase, the base of the vase. You're given one wall, which we will have to duplicate, and then this is that flower arranging grid that you can use if you want to. So again, we've got to convert the cuts to scores, so we're going to select that first subgroup in the layers panel. Go to your operations menu, choose score from the drop down, and because there's more than one set, we've got to ungroup them. Select the group underneath and ungroup that, and then select the whole SVG and do that third ungroup. No scores on the bow pieces. This is the ribbon and it does score so that it folds and really wraps snugly around the vase. It's a perfect fit. Scores there on that flower arranging grid. This is the base of the vase, no scores there, and this is the wall piece, and we need 12 of these. So I'm using Control D on my keyboard there. 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. Okay, let's hit make it and see what happens. Again, as I said, the whole project can be made from A4, so can this vase. And you might only be making one of this, might you, unless you're making a couple of bouquets for other people. Weird thing happens with these, even though they're exactly the same colour, for some reason Design Space doesn't want to rotate that little piece of the bow. It's the largest piece, so just move it, bring it onto the same mat as everything else, which is the same colour. It is the same colour, I've checked. I don't know why it keeps doing that. That page will disappear. This obviously will cut from a scrap of green or whatever colour you want to make it from. I do a couple of projects with flower arranging grids in, and I always cut them from the same card as I'm cutting the leaves from, so that it's a good match and it's less noticeable when it's in your vase. If you were making this as an unusual combination, like I quite often make blue and white bouquets, if your flowers had blue leaves and stems, I would make the flower arranging grid from that same blue, just so it's disguised a bit more once everything's in the vase. And these are the walls, so I'm going to pick A3 there. You can cut it from A4. If you're using A3, you'd need 1 and a bit pieces. If you're using A4, you can cut it out of a maximum, let's have a look, 1, 5, 6, 7, 8, 4 pieces, but I think you might be able to, if you want to save paper, I think if you rotated these and put them a little bit closer together, you might be able to get another wall on there, maybe. Just scooching that up with the cursor keys, arrow keys should I say. Would that one then move over there and fit? It does. So you'd get a few more than 4 on a page. You won't get one lengthwise though. It's too wide to fit widthwise on an A4. So if you got 5 on a sheet, that would be 5, 10, and then you'd get the other 2 on there with the base. So yes, you'd get that out of 3 sheets of A4. which is pretty good, isn't it? But as I said, you can cut it all from 12 by 12. Obviously, it would be one for that because that's the only thing that's colour. It would be one for those, or one for that. Let's look at what the vase takes up on 12 by 12. I think that's a very economical cut actually. Yeah, 2 sheets of 12 by 12 with room to spare. So yes, it can also cut it from 12 by 12. All right, I'm not going to cut it. I've got lots of these. If you've got any questions when you come to cut or assemble it, please don't hesitate to get in touch. The way to get in touch is in the description below. You can contact me on Etsy or Facebook, whichever you prefer. Just reiterating that you do get that PDF of assembly instructions. It's not difficult. The flowers are time consuming, but flowers just are time consuming, aren't they? But I really love how these turned out. It took me a while to get it exactly as I want it, but I really love the way they look now. If you've just stumbled across this video and like to buy the SVG, the link is in the description below too. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye.